brain has been waiting for. News, politics, and issues. Enhanced. You have just joined the Wilkow Majority.
Your generation of great talk radio, the founder of the new school. That's me. Here's your Wilkow Sirius XM Patriot phone lines as always. 1-695 Patriot 957-2874. The email, just spell my name right, WILKW at WilkowMajority.com. Individual Patriot first, conservative second, Republican third, and working every single day to make this the most popular program offered by Sirius XM Radio because it's based on one thing and one thing only. And that is rational thought. So welcome to the Wilkow Majority. I'm Andrew Wilkow. You know, I had the honor. Let me give you updates something from Operation Close Air Support. Let me sit down here for a second. My merch guy, John Alves at Dirtbag Clothing, had to move warehouses, and he calls me up and he says, "Yeah, I got some extra stock that I'm not going to be able to move until we get the new warehouse set up because I'm going to be in between warehouses. Can you take some of it?" Now, I thought he meant like a box of shirts. Oh, no. 8 crates of merch that we don't even, I think, offer anymore. Much of it. Lot of odd sizes and women's clothing. And we're sitting there in the office. We had literally, it was like taking up the entire office. So we reached out to some of our veterans charities, like the Veterans Community Housing Coalition, where they have big old homes upstate that are made into apartments, and they house female veterans, homeless female veterans with children. So I got a hold of the director. I said, "Hey, could you use boxes of women's, T-shirts?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "When we get someone from a homeless shelter, they might not have anything with them." And she's like, "A clean T-shirt and some other things would be, a welcome thing when we're, maybe doing their laundry when they first get here or letting them do their laundry." And she said, the 25 grand they got from one interview on this program is just doing wonders. Same for Horses for Heroes. We sent a whole bunch of stuff out there. But I was named Hero of the Month by Veterans from Trump when Radio Inc. did a story on just how much money we raised in about 3 hours. And it was an honor. Joining me on the program right now is Chad Caton, National Director of Operations for Veterans for America First, also known as Veterans for Trump. You guys have a new documentary coming out. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to be on with you, and you rightfully deserve to be Hero of the Month that month. And we thank you for what you did in perspective to helping that shelter. Well, we do have a phenomenal. We're really excited about with everything that's going on at the border. It's called Border Invasion: An American Crisis. You can actually see the trailer of it at veteransfortrump.us. And we're real excited about this documentary coming out, distributed by Salem.
Well, wait a second. Well, first of all, we'll be talking to you over at Salem because I have a program on the Salem News Channel. How could there be such a thing as Veterans from Trump when Trump called dead soldiers suckers and losers?
Well, at the end of the day, he never really said that about specifically to the veterans. It's been taken out of context multiple times. And ultimately, Donald Trump has been, as a veteran myself and dealing with the VA, the 4 years that Donald Trump was there, we actually got what we need. I got my eye exam when I needed, instead of waiting 19 months to get an eye exam right now. And if you try to go out to the choice program that Trump put in, they fight you tooth and nail. Donald Trump is about veterans. He's about our military.
It's like school choice, right? You give people more choice in the apparatchiks in the system. They don't like it. Add into the fact that VA resources are being diverted to provide health care to people in the country illegally. If that's not a kick in the groin, I don't know what is.
You want to get me all fired up today? Yeah, that's
Sure,
that's
get fired
absolutely
up.
something we're legitimately upset about. We're working. I'm working specifically with Mr. Mark and Don LaCroix and Isaiah Washington. We want to flip Chicago. They're about flipping Chicago, and they came to us specifically about a house where veterans were coming through their halfway house, trying to get back into society, and they were all living there, and they ended up kicking them out for illegals. I'm going there to film it. I'm going to show America exactly what it is, and we're going to go over it. They started their own encampment. The veterans started their own encampment just for these veterans. They take care of each other. They're surviving. Veterans will always survive. But how sad is it that our country, that they put their blood on the line to keep this country great, to keep this country safe, are thrown out like the trash and allow illegals, not migrants, not immigrants, illegal aliens to take their warm bed in the middle of Chicago.
Who I want to hear from? I want to hear from Democrat veterans in the House of Representatives. I want to hear from Democrat veterans. I know Richard Blumenthal was caught lying about his service in Vietnam, but he was still a Marine. Seth Moulton, Tammy Duckworth, Jason Crow, any of these people, past and present, right? This should be something that should be beyond politics, right? This is something. We're not talking about, welfare programs. We're talking about, do veterans come first when it comes to the VA or not?
Not when you're a socialist. And I will say it here on your show. I'll be more than happy to put on a suit. I will fly myself to Washington. I would sit with an entire group of Democrats, and I want them to look me in the eye and tell me that these policies in any way, shape, or form are to the honor, courage, and commitment that our veterans have shown. And in regards to an illegal migrant having any way, shape, or form able to take their bed from them as they're trying to get back into society. I want them to look at me. I invite that conversation. I will say it here on your show. I dare them.
So let's talk more about the documentary. We just had a situation here the other night where a group of illegal immigrants beat up a couple of cops. Now, you say, well, shouldn't they get better training? No, it's the use of force regulations here in the city. In other parts of the country, they might have used deadly force, and rightfully so. But to add insult to injury, the district attorney released them with no bail. Out they go. At what point do voters recognize that what this federal government is doing is placing the non-citizen above the rule of law and above the citizen?
You're absolutely right, Andrew. There's no way in the wide world of sports they can even come to some kind of argument about it. They just ignore the question. That's why Blumenthal and them won't sit with us. They don't want any part of it. And to sit there as a former firefighter and to sit there and watch my brothers in uniform get beaten by a horde of immigrants or illegals, it makes zero sense to me. And the fact that their right to engage on deadly force is so hampered, and they're willing to get kicked in the face in order to not pull their weapon. There is nowhere in our Constitution or any concept of being an American that says that you're allowed to kick somebody in the face and not be retaliated on with equal or greater power. It makes absolutely no sense to me. I mourn for our police officers and firefighters that are out there still on the job because of this regime, the Biden regime. They have made it exponentially more dangerous every single day. Remember back in the day when there was cops that said, I did 25 years and I pulled my gun once? It's a daily now. And that's because of this regime. That's because we have no law and order, and we have a regime that is lifting up illegal people over its own citizens, its own sovereign citizens. It makes me sick.
So what are we going to see in this documentary?
This documentary is going to be raw, so very raw. I was just blessed to go down to Florida. I actually had General Flynn. I filmed him just yesterday. And I'm so excited about the people we have on it, all the way from Victor Avila out there that's running against Gonzalez. He's there in Eagle Pass. That's his district. His story is becoming more disgusting. When he was left for dead after being shot by the Zetas, the cartels, there in Mexico. He was actually in Mexico when he was shot. And the thing is, what people don't realize, he was sent into Mexico from one of his higher ups to get boxes. They didn't know what was in the boxes. The change of custody slips the government can't find. And come to find out, it was the tchotchkes of a former higher up that lived in Mexico. He sent two of his own Homeland Security officers to Mexico to get him, and they were ambushed on a highway. And their SUV was flipped, and they were stuck in the SUV as the Zetas turned around and opened fire with automatic weapons, killing his partner, which was disgusting, Jaime Zapatas. And he had to lay there for 40 minutes until the embassy could get a helicopter or something to get him out of there. Shot 3 times, once in the chest, once in the arm. I went to the border with 2 congressional candidates in the midterms, and I went with the guy that had a show called Cartel Land on Netflix. He hunts the cartel coming into the United States in the Badlands, where 60% of all the fentanyl comes across this 80 miles of border that we can't seem to be able to shut. The border office to that area is 200 miles away. We went and hunted them with him and caught 2 drug mules. It's all there. You can see him get picked up by Border Patrol. We held him. I almost shot one because he started digging in his pants. This is what's going on at our border. And our government doesn't care. The poor border police or border patrol, they're equally distraught by it all because they're watching what's happening to their country.
You could see the trailer on YouTube. Just type in "border invasion and American crisis," comes right up, and you got Tom Homan to voice it, huh?
Yeah, we've got some surprises in there. I'm very excited about this film. It's as raw as it gets about the border. And this is going to be something that America is going to be able to use. They're going to be able to show their legislators, Democrat, Republican, what have you. And hopefully we start a national discussion on another level based on the rawness of what's happening in this particular film. And I'm very proud to be an assistant director on this, along with our directors, Stan and Donna Fitzgerald and Jared Craig. It's a phenomenal documentary, and I hope it angers a lot of people, but angers them in the direction of change.
You know, we can argue. I always say that we can argue about domestic policy. You know, should the federal government be involved in housing or health care or education? When you look at the streets of the major cities, you take a city like Portland, where they literally declared a state of emergency over the fentanyl crisis. Do they have themselves to blame for decriminalizing drugs? We could argue, right? I mean, some libertarians would say, well, you know, let the free market decide. Whatever. You see the homelessness in Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, L.A., up around the Horn, Minneapolis, Chicago, here in New York. If the choice is between getting Americans off the streets, you know, if we're going to spend our resources, if the argument is, do we fix America first, right? That's what I look at when I think about America first. I can't imagine any other country, and maybe some of these other countries are lost, that they would just leave millions of their own citizens on the streets, but put foreigners up in hotels in perpetuity. You know, take American kids out of schools and replace them with the children of people here illegally, feeding them three times a day, giving them cash to spend, and then when some of these people commit crimes, they can't even deport them. They're not going to deport these guys that beat these cops. They couldn't even keep them in jail overnight. It's when do Americans, we can fight over policy on a later day. You have to put America first.
You're absolutely right, Andrew. Again, and what it comes down to is get rid of the parties. Get rid of the ideology. When are you going to look at the American flag and you're going to look at your ancestors that have served in the military and came home in a box with a flag draped over it? When are we going to actually be able to sit down and, as a Democrat, as a rhino, whatever you are, and be able to say, you know what, this is my country? This is when we need to start voting based off of what's happening around us and understand who is the person that can fix this instead of ideology based on Orange Man bad. I have never seen a society play into their politics in the concept of stupidity. We have so many countries out there that have really begged for their real opportunity to vote. I remember Iraq with the purple thumbs. They were so proud. It's ridiculous that we have people out there in pink hair telling us that men should date transgender people, or we should be in the same bathroom as my 6-year-old niece. This isn't right. We're losing the concept of morality. We're losing the concept of patriotism. And the people that are continuing to vote for the Democratic left and this stupid ideology, that you are the ones that need to wake up. We aren't wrong. I'm not saying that us as Republicans or conservatives are overtly all-knowing and right all the time. But we stop looking at it as, this side versus that side and tribing up, and start looking at what's really going on in this country. That's what this film does, is it forces you to pay attention to it. I just hope that Democrats and the left and the independents will take the time to watch the film, because we need to get used to uncomfortable. We need to start looking at things in uncomfortability so we can fix it.
Well, here's what I would say to any Democrat who likes to make everything about race and racism and privilege this and whatever. I would say you are diverting the resources away from these inner city schools, from these inner city job programs, from these inner city homelessness programs, and you are taking it away from, in your own words, black and brown people, to transfer it to people who are not citizens of this nation. You're giving away our sovereignty. You're giving away our border. And if your answer is, well, some people will just have to pay more in taxes. So basically you're saying it's the duty of the American taxpayer to subsidize basically every human being around the world as a priority, and then maybe poor Americans in Appalachia will come second.
You know as well as I do, they talk about taxing the rich. It's going to be the middle class. They want to destroy the middle class so they can establish a caste system between themselves, the rich and elite, and the poor. They want to get rid of the middle class. It's been a Democratic talking point forever, as they say they're going for tax the rich, like the moron AOC made an entire dress out of. This is the stupid I was talking about. And what I don't understand is how people get in their Subaru every day, drive around, and talk about how we need to be a green earth, and at the same time can't look around and realize that they're the ones that are going to be attacked next. They're the ones that are going to be dropped out of their middle class and put into the concept of being poor. The ideology that goes behind it is demonic in a lot of ways, and we keep placating to it. As Americans and as Republicans or conservatives or just moral people, or as you say, people with rational thought, have a tendency to actually sit back and say, I'm not going to do something violent or stupid. I'm trying to do it the right way. And that's another one of my big things. Get involved locally. That's where it starts. And that's where we have to get people engaged in their politics. Again, get used to uncomfortable.
Yeah. All right. So one more time, give out the website. Where can people see it and see the trailer? I said YouTube, but where else want people to go?
YouTube's great. We want them to go to veteransfortrump.us. Also, please sign up. We're building a huge coalition for Trump across the country. We want you engaged. We're not going to send you win red or fundraising. This is all about standing with the greatest president of my lifetime and getting him back in the Oval Office as the 47th president of the United States. So go to veteransfortrump.us. You can do all of that. Look for the great things we're doing across this nation as we continue to build one of the largest coalitions of America First veteran leaders in this country to bring about actual America First candidates and to get involved in our communities and the philanthropic side of it, including the inner cities.
All right, I got to leave it there. Chad Caton, thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk soon. We'll get you on the Salem News Channel.
It was a pleasure. I look forward to it.
Of course, because it's a Salem documentary. We're doing good work over there. We really are. If you haven't checked out salemnewschannel.com, check it out.